Every outcome you experience today is not merely a result of chance, it is intricately crafted day by day, woven from the invisible threads of your thoughts. These thoughts act as a subtle and unnoticed force, continuously shaping the contours of your life, often without your conscious awareness. When these threads are spun from expansive visions, deep-seated beliefs, and a commitment to perseverance, the tapestry of your life is rich with opportunities and accomplishments. Conversely, if those threads emanate from fear, self-doubt, and a desire for the status quo, you may find yourself confined within the narrow boundaries you have unknowingly created. A weak mindset does not solely manifest as negative thinking. It operates in more nuanced ways. It often reveals itself when you quietly adjust your standards to a risk-averse threshold, what feels safe enough. When you passively accept that your current circumstances define your reality, you may choose paths that minimize risk, but also yield minimal rewards. The real danger lies in how those limiting thoughts can become so familiar that they feel like part of your innate character, blinding you to alternative possibilities. Individuals with a limited mindset tend to perceive challenges as insurmountable barriers, viewing obstacles as towering walls rather than as hurdles that can be navigated. In contrast, those with a resilient and robust mindset see the structure of these walls, identify gaps, and take proactive steps, either by finding tools or devising strategies to overcome them. The distinction here is not based on physical prowess or initial circumstances. It resides in the mental framework that guides their thinking. If you continue to adhere to the same thought patterns, it is unrealistic to expect your life to change. Action is driven by habitual thought processes. You may try to alter your environment, etc., hangy jobs, or even embrace new relationships. However, if your underlying mindset remains unchanged, old results will inevitably resurface. Your life is a mirror reflecting the mindset you operate from. Some might argue that they take significant action but still feel stagnant. The issue often lies in the foundational thoughts underpinning that action. A well-thought-out strategy stemming from proactive thinking will yield markedly different outcomes than sheer blind effort, even if both involve an equal amount of exertion. This is why investing in your thought process is the most fruitful investment you can ever make. A strong mindset does not equate to empty confidence or a refusal to acknowledge reality. Rather, it embodies the ability to confront the truth with clarity and still choose the most advantageous path forward. Think of it as navigating a ship. While you cannot control the direction of the wind, you can adjust your sails to make the most of it. Those with a strong mindset understand that while circumstances may shift, their responses play a pivotal role in determining their ultimate destination. Another remarkable aspect of this invisible force, the mind, is that it never stops influencing your behavior, habits, and emotions. Whether you choose to be proactive or indifferent, your thoughts will continuously shape your experiences. If you do not consciously decide what mental seeds to plant, your environment will inevitably sow its own, often leading to detrimental outcomes. This lack of control can be compared to an unattended field where any seed, including weeds, can take root. The weeds of the mind are often manifested as comparison, regret, and self-doubt. To regain command over this invisible influence, begin with awareness. Recognize that every thought, no matter how insignificant it may seem, contributes a brick to the edifice of your existence. A misplaced brick doesn't merely mar the aesthetic. Over time, it can compromise the entire structure's stability. Consequently, rather than allowing your thoughts to drift on autopilot, steer them under the guidance of wisdom, where logic leads and emotions follow rather than directing the course. Living in alignment with wisdom involves knowing how to ask the right questions at the right moments. Ask yourself, does this thought uplift me or drag me down? If I hold on to this thought, where will it lead me in 5 years? Cultivating the habit of critically assessing your thoughts in this manner will help you eliminate weak ones before they can take hold. Intelligent individuals do not let instinct dictate every decision. While instinct may suffice for short-term survival, it is wisdom that guides us through the longer journeys ahead. It is essential to distinguish careful deliberation from impulsive haste. A decision made after thoughtful consideration from multiple angles is likely to endure far better than one born from a rash, emotional moment. Look at those who have a lasting impact. You will find that they do not react spontaneously to every stimulus. They filter the information they receive, thoughtfully weigh their responses, and know when to pause and listen. This careful analysis is indicative of a disciplined mind, where every thought is scrutinized before being articulated as words or actions. When you adopt this method of operation, your life will shift dramatically. Opportunities will begin to appear with greater frequency, not because the world has suddenly aligned in your favor, but because you have cultivated a perspective that allows you to recognize them. Challenges will appear less daunting as you will have prepared your mindset to tackle them instead of shying away. Most importantly, you will experience a newfound sense of freedom, liberation from the invisible constraints you once imposed upon yourself. Your mindset acts as that invisible guiding force, but you are ultimately in control of its direction. If you allow it to operate on instinct, you will soon find yourself caught in the gravity of others' influences and circumstances. However, if you deliberately steer your thoughts with wisdom as your guide, each day can become a purposeful stride toward the future you desire. Life does not reward those who merely dream without training their minds. It rewards those who possess the clarity to realize that everything begins in the mind, and that every limit only exists if you permit it. Once you fully comprehend this principle, life will no longer seem like a series of random events. Instead, it will emerge as a carefully crafted design, with you as the architect. The brain serves as the command center for your entire existence. Every decision, every action, every progression, whether conscious or unconscious, originates from the signals it sends. If you don't actively take charge, it will default to its outdated programming, rooted in memories, habits, and external influences that have been conditioned over many years. If this is the case, you are not truly living. You are merely reacting to an antiquated script that you or others have written long ago. There is no neutral state in your thought processes. You either manage your thoughts, or they will be commandeered by other forces, perhaps by fear, doubt, the judgments of others, or even the narratives you unwittingly create for yourself. This means if you aren't gripping the steering wheel of your thoughts, some other force will take over, and that trajectory is rarely aligned with your desires. Consider how a single thought can forge an outcome. Before you take action or develop any habit, it all begins with a thought. That thought can either be a command to move forward or a signal to retreat. If you nurture strong thoughts, they will propel you toward decisive actions that lead to concrete results. Conversely, if you allow weak thoughts to dominate your psyche, they will coax you into taking the safest route, which can ultimately lead to mediocrity. The crux of the matter is simple. You cannot expect to cultivate strength from a brain that is programmed to view itself as a victim. You cannot expect to behave like a champion while still maintaining the neural patterns of defeat. This internal contradiction exhausts many individuals who strive to transform their external circumstances while neglecting to address their internal landscape. To gain control over your brain, you must first identify who or what currently holds the reins. If fear is in the driver's seat, you will hesitate and miss your opportunities. If doubt is in charge, you will likely quit prematurely. If you have a tendency to blame others, you will waste precious time seeking excuses rather than solutions. However, if you place responsibility, discipline, and belief firmly in control, your brain will operate like a well-tuned machine calibrated for success. One significant factor that detracts from your control is noise, both external and internal. The world around you is continually attempting to define what is possible, what is realistic, and what is achievable for you. While some people may have the best intentions and others may not, they all share a common trait. They do not live your life and will not be held accountable for your results. If you allow every opinion and piece of information to infiltrate your mind, it will quickly become a disorganized depot filled with unproductive thoughts that drown out clarity. You must serve as the gatekeeper of your mind. This role requires quiet yet steadfast discipline. Do not permit any information, opinion, or emotion to occupy mental real estate if it offers no value. Your brain cannot be a repository for worry, comparison, and regret. Allowing it to fill with such thoughts will create a reality where you wake up each day with a limited mindset and retire each night in doubt. Controlling your brain does not imply merely thinking positive thoughts. This is not about feigning happiness or denying harsh truths. It is about choosing thoughts that are robust enough to confront challenges head-on rather than running from them. Weak thoughts tend to evade challenges, whereas strong thoughts embrace them with confidence, proclaiming, "I can manage this." This type of thinking fosters breakthroughs as it encourages you to seek solutions instead of making excuses to retreat. One practical way to reclaim control over your thoughts is to conduct a thought audit. When faced with a situation, ask yourself, does this thought draw me closer to my goals, or is it dragging me backward? If the answer indicates stagnation, swiftly replace it with a question or assertion that propels you forward. The brain is responsive to clear and consistent instructions, and it is vital to remember that you are not obligated to believe everything that crosses your mind. Many thoughts are merely remnant echoes of past experiences, judgments, or biases you acquired before you develop the capacity to critically evaluate them. They do not represent absolute truth unless you persist in treating them as such. The moment you begin to interrogate the authenticity of a thought, you begin to reclaim your power. Understand that managing your brain is an ongoing endeavor, not a singular decision. Each day brings new streams of information and situations vying for space in your mind. If you do not regularly clear out mental clutter, it will accumulate and dictate your thoughts. Some thoughts offer no genuine value and pave no paths to solutions. However, they linger in your mind like parasites. These thoughts do not seem to advance your journey. Rather, they slowly siphon off your energy, focus, and confidence. The insidious problem is that most of these thoughts do not announce themselves loudly. Instead, they whisper suggestions, repeating themselves until you mistakenly accept them as your authentic voice. Parasitic thoughts frequently manifest as familiar phrases. I'm not good enough. I'll probably fail. Other people have it easier than I do. Or, this isn't the right time. These thoughts aren't facts, but they present themselves as rationalizations so convincingly that you rarely question their validity. Once you accept them, they embed themselves deeply and become an often unseen filter that influences how you perceive every opportunity, often leading you to reject those opportunities altogether. Eliminating parasitic thoughts begins with their recognition. You cannot defeat an adversary you do not understand. Devote time to observing your mental patterns, particularly during moments of stress or when embarking on new endeavors. These are the times when these parasitic thoughts are most active, seeking to maintain the comfort of the familiar. If you notice a recurring thought dragging you down, do not rush to react from an emotional standpoint. Instead, engage your intellect to assess it. Does this thought have a basis in reality? Does it propel you toward your goals? Does it tell the entire truth? Or is it merely a distorted echo of past experiences? Shining a light on such thoughts diminishes their power. The next step is to uproot them. Don't simply disregard them. Instead, replace the parasitic thought with a more empowering alternative. If you catch yourself thinking, I'm not capable, replace it with, I'm in the process of becoming capable. Transformation does not require you to sugarcoat reality. Instead, it requires you to reconstruct your mental framework in a manner that encourages progress. Remember, parasitic thoughts will not vanish after a single replacement. They will attempt to resurface because the brain favors what it knows. This is where the discipline of thought becomes crucial. Each time they arise, cycle through the motions of recognition, analysis, and replacement. Gradually, new neural pathways will develop, displacing the old grooves, leading to a reduction in the hold of those parasitic thoughts. One reason many struggle to eliminate these thoughts is that they continue to nourish the environment that sustains them. They may frequently engage in negative conversations, consume pessimistic media, or remain in relationships that undermine their confidence. This behavior serves as nourishment for parasitic thoughts. Consequently, if you genuinely want to shift your perspective, you must sever the supply line. Choose carefully whom to listen to, what to read, and what thoughts to permit to linger in your mind. Take note that parasitic thoughts do not only target grand ambitions, they also seep into everyday moments to assert their control. When you contemplate starting a new habit, they may whisper, "You're tired, just do it tomorrow." When faced with a difficult decision, they may urge you to wait and see. Each concession to these thoughts reinforces their grip and solidifies procrastination as a habit. Thus, battling them requires not only an ideological struggle, but also an actionable one. Each time a parasitic thought arises, instead of getting lost in over-analysis, take action contrary to what it suggests. If it tells you that you're unprepared, take even the smallest step right now. If it claims you will fail, complete a small segment of the work to disprove it. Action serves as the most potent antidote against parasitic thoughts, generating immediate evidence to counter their narratives. Subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to stay updated with more motivational content. Like, share, and comment to support our work and spread the message.